A funny thing happened to me this week. God caught me by surprise because I had been looking for him. I'd been searching diligently for any sign of him in the midst of all that's been happening in our world. I'd been looking through this week's scripture, and honestly, I was trying to tell a different story. So I was surprised by where I found him and how I found him. I circled back to this week's readings because they tell us, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside of your Father's care. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. Whoever acknowledges me before others, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever disowns me before others, I will disown before my Father in heaven." I believed that he had a plan for me, just as I believed that he had a plan to heal and reconcile me with him and all those who love him here on earth. Not some hollow or empty gesture, some sign I could erect, or a flag I could wave, or a t-shirt I could wear that signaled my goodness, my righteousness to all who could see it. Because I wanted something deeper, more durable, more personal, more real. I was looking for him the whole time. I was ready to look for him in the unlikely places, if it meant finding him in this hour of trouble. I lifted prayer to him regularly to show me where to go and tell me what to say. You, Lord, are forgiving and good, abounding in love to all who call to you. Hear my prayer, Lord. Listen to my cry for mercy. When I am in distress, I call to you because you answer me. But day by day, my prayer went unanswered. My mind was still troubled. My heart was breaking as I watched the world dividing itself, losing trust, losing patience, losing control, day by day. I listened to the voices rising, and I felt the anger building in what was being said and written, each statement building on the other, erecting a barricade of hate that grew higher each day. It looked like the only thing we were able to agree on was that the things that divided us were too complicated to be solved without a long season of pain and suffering, till the other side came around to seeing things our way. I read about Hagar and Ishmael wandering in the desert this week. I read about that moment. When the water in the skin was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes. Then she went off and sat down about a bow shot away, for she thought, "I cannot watch the boy die." And as she sat there, she began to sob. I know what she felt, because it's hard to watch someone or something you love die, to search every bit of your strength and every idea that you have, still come up empty for a solution, but be unable to watch the inevitable. To instead find God and the answer to your prayers in the place you least expected it, right there beside you in plain sight. I was surprised because I was just trying to cut my grass. Because it's been raining every day and summer was upon us, I could almost see the grass growing each day here in coastal Georgia, and every day it was too wet to cut. So when it stayed dry that morning, no matter how bad the clouds looked as they rolled over my head, I was determined to seize the moment and finally cut the grass. But the lawnmower and the edger both needed gas, and when I went to the gas can, it was empty. I looked again at the clouds rolling by, shook my head at the heavens for my bad luck, ran for my wallet and the keys to the truck. I was wearing the clothes that you wear when you work in the yard on a hot, humid day. Your old grass-stained tennis shoes, an old pair of shorts that you don't worry about ruining, and a 15-year-old t-shirt, size large, from a time when I could still comfortably fit in a size large, without looking like I'd borrowed it from my little brother. The kind of shirt that already had a few paint splatters and permanent stains. The kind of shirt when you wear when you're not expecting to stay clean or dry for very long working outdoors. The kind of shirt your family wished you only wore in the backyard or the garage. But it was what I was wearing, and I had even less time than pride of appearance, and off I went. Filling up the gas can at the self-serve pump, I was grateful for the use of credit cards that didn't require that I go into the convenience store to pay. The folks that work there aren't exactly rude, but they always seem to be tired, worn down by the steady stream of customers, their problems, their complaint, and their complete lack of manners. The line always seems to be about 5 or 6 deep when you have to go in, which is why I seldom do. You listen to what the people online ahead of you want as you wait your turn. Give me $10 on number 4. Or pointing. I want 3 of them scratcher tickets. No, not that kind. The other kind. Or just a grunt about 2 packs of something ultralight 100s. And some money slapped on the counter instead of handed across. So as I finished filling up the gas can, and then the truck that was close enough to empty to worry a dad, but still probably looked half full to a teenage boy, I was grateful to get back to what I was doing. And then a car pulled up, and the window rolled down. It was an older couple. They were looking for a street that I'd never heard of in the little town where I've lived for over 17 years. I asked if they were looking for a house or a business, thinking I might know the business even if they had the street name wrong. Turned out it was a medical office, something therapy, and I'd never heard of it either. I offered to look it up on my phone just as I realized I left my phone back at the house. So I apologized, but they smiled and they thanked me. Told me they would circle back as they were sure it was close. They just missed it on the way into town. I smiled back and apologized again, bent down to finish closing the cap on the gas can and secure it in the back of the truck. I looked up at the pump and it had already reset, so I couldn't request a printed receipt. Looked up at the rolling clouds and made that long walk across the parking lot to the store, trying not to admire how goofy my outfit looked in the reflection on the glass doors, in order to pay more attention to the stream of careless drivers that were weaving too fast out of the parking spaces and from the gas pumps all around me. Walking in, I could see at least 5 people waiting at one cash register, and although a young lady was standing behind the other, the young man was walking away from it to take his place at the end of the other line. I didn't even bother to ask and started to follow him when the young lady called out, "Cash your card to me." I turned and said, "I just need a receipt for number 6. Before I could reach the counter, she read back the amount for confirmation, and I could hear the receipt printing. She tore it off and handed it to me, and I said, "Thank you, miss." She started to reply something like, "Have a nice day." It got twisted up in the middle. She fumbled over a word or two, and what actually came out was, "Have a blessed day," instead. I looked up from tucking the receipt in my wallet. I smiled at her in gratitude and not a little surprised and said, "You too." Before I walked out and dodged traffic all the way back to the truck, an older guy in a too small, faded and stained t-shirt and beat up tennis shoes, praying it wouldn't rain before I got home. Turns out that young girl was right. I was blessed. The weather stayed dry for hours. The yard got cut and edged and trimmed and timed before the rain came. My son and I even had time to edge the lawn down the street for an older couple that had been having some health problems. They've been keeping it mowed, but they only have a line trimmer for edging, and it's just too much in the heat. As I came in to shower and I peeled off that old t-shirt, it finally hit me. It had been right there beside me all along. I knew that old shirt was at least 15 years old, because I still remember the day I got it, because I was the one who designed it and opened the box from the silk screener when I passed them out to the youth of my church. It was stained with paint and dirt and everything else because we wore them whenever we worked together, and it often got messy. I designed that shirt to remind those young people that they were special because they were created with intention by God, with gifts they did not yet realize, with purpose they were only beginning to understand, and with love in such abundance that it could overcome any obstacle that the world might place in their path. As I grew and the shirt shrunk, those kids grew older, and some now have children of their own. I didn't have a reason to wear it out into the world any longer. There were other t-shirts, a lot of them, that got made along the way since then. I always hoped that people could tell that I was a Christian by how I acted, rather than something I wore or stuck on the back of my car. And as I looked around for any sign that God was present, that healing was still possible, and there might be a way to reach out to be a comfort and source of peace to those in troubled times, it had been there all along. It just took me not worrying about how I looked. I didn't need to look more respectable, more accomplished, more successful, or more powerful. I needed to look more accessible, more humble, more willing to set aside those symbols that pointed to me and display just one that pointed to Him. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Just like that, my prayers were answered. I was blessed, and I was a blessing to others. Because even if I didn't have all the answers, it was still a comfort to a stranger when they were lost. I was a voice of gratitude and respect in a place that long ago had become too busy to take time for either. Where I had seen looming clouds, an empty gas can, and an outfit that my family would wince to see me out in public wearing, God had seen an opportunity. He sent me out, kept me out longer than I wanted. He made me visible to many when I would have liked to pass unseen. And even though I didn't have the words to bridge the gap or get over the wall, it's because He gave them to others who finally saw someone who they could trust, reach out to, and share a blessing with, because I was willing to carry a sign of His goodness, His sacrifice, His love out into a world that needs it now more than ever. Turn to me and have mercy on me. Show your strength on behalf of your servant. Save me because I serve you just as my mother did. Give me a sign of your goodness that my enemies may see it and be put to shame. For you, Lord, have helped me and comforted me. Amen.